Olivia Bennett stood in the pristine lobby of the Westfield Foundation, her Louboutin heels clicking against the marble floor. At 32, she had everything most people dreamed of: a thriving interior design business in Manhattan, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, and invitations to the most exclusive galas in the city. Yet something was missing. "Ms. Bennett, we're so grateful for your contribution to our annual fundraiser," said Mrs. Holloway, the foundation's director, leading her through the elegant hallway adorned with framed photographs of children whose lives had been changed by the charity. Olivia smiled politely. "My pleasure. My assistant mentioned you needed help with something else?" "Yes, if you wouldn't mind. We received several donation boxes that need sorting before our weekend event. With your eye for detail." Olivia checked her Cartier watch. Her dinner reservation at Le Bernardin wasn't for 3 hours. "I'd be happy to help." In the back room, Olivia removed her designer blazer and began sorting through the first box: designer clothes still bearing tags, barely used toys, and books. The second box contained similar items. But the third box was different, older, dustier, with items that spoke of memories rather than excess. As she reached the bottom, her fingers brushed against a small envelope, yellowed with age. She almost tossed it into the discard pile when something caught her eye: her name, written in childish handwriting on the front. "That's impossible," she whispered, her heart suddenly racing. With trembling fingers, she turned the envelope over. A small gold star sticker sealed the flap, the kind her third-grade teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, used to give for completed homework. The room seemed to fade around her as long-buried memories stirred. The Westfield Foundation hadn't always been housed in this gleaming building. 25 years ago, it operated from a small community center in Queens, where a frightened 7-year-old Olivia had spent 6 months in temporary foster care after her parents' accident. "Is everything all right, Miss Bennett?" Mrs. Holloway appeared in the doorway. Olivia quickly slipped the envelope into her purse. "Yes, just ... remembering something." Later that evening, as the city lights twinkled outside her penthouse windows, Olivia sat alone on her Italian leather sofa, the unopened envelope resting on her glass coffee table. The reservation at Le Bernardin forgotten, she poured herself a glass of Chateau Margaux and stared at her name written in that familiar childish scrawl, her own handwriting from a lifetime ago. With a deep breath, she reached for the envelope, unaware that opening it would unravel the carefully constructed facade of her perfect life and lead her back to the person she had once promised herself she would become. The envelope trembled in Olivia's hands as she carefully broke the star. Sticker seal. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, creased and slightly discolored with age. The handwriting was unmistakably hers, large, careful letters with hearts dotting the I's. "Dear future me, Mrs. Rodriguez says if we write to our future selves, maybe our wishes will come true. I hope you are happy now. I hope Mom and Dad are okay after their accident. If they can't take care of me anymore, I hope you have a nice family that loves you. I'm staying at Westfield now. Miss Janet is nice. She says it's temporary, but I'm scared. The other kids say sometimes temporary means forever. Put this letter in the wish box. Miss Janet says things we put in there go to people who need them. I hope you find this someday and remember me. I want to help kids like me when I grow up. Promise you won't forget? Love, Olivia, age 7. P.S. I put my special butterfly pin in here too. Don't lose it." Olivia's vision blurred with tears. Her fingers fumbled back into the envelope and found it a small silver butterfly pin with tiny rhinestones. For wings. Her grandmother had given it to her on her 7th birthday, just weeks before the car accident that sent her parents to the hospital, and Olivia to temporary foster care. She clutched the pin to her chest, memories flooding back. Her parents had recovered after months of rehabilitation. The family had moved to Connecticut for a fresh start. Somewhere along the way, she had locked away those 6 months of her life at Westfield, buried the frightened child she once was beneath achievements and acquisitions. Her phone buzzed with messages, a client with a crisis, her assistant confirming tomorrow's meetings, a text from her latest date, wondering why she'd stood him up. Her perfect life demanded her attention, but all she could see was the face of Miss Janet, who had held her when she cried for her parents at night. Olivia opened her laptop and searched for Janet Westfield Foundation 1990s. Several results appeared, but one made her breath catch an obituary from 3 years ago. Janet Collins, beloved social worker and children's advocate, had passed away after dedicating 40 years to child welfare. At the bottom of the obituary was a photograph of Miss Janet standing outside the old community center with a group of children. Olivia leaned closer, her heart pounding as she recognized herself, small, solemn-faced, wearing the butterfly pin on her collar. The article mentioned a memorial scholarship established in Janet's name, managed by someone named Marcus Collins, Janet's son. There was a contact email. Without allowing herself time to reconsider, Olivia began typing. Dear Mr. Collins, you don't know me, but your mother once took care of me at Westfield. Today, by some miracle, I found a letter I wrote to myself in her care. I've only just realized how much I owe her. Her finger hovered over the send button. Her carefully constructed life balanced on the edge of change. 3 days passed with no response from Marcus Collins. Olivia found herself distracted during client meetings, her thoughts drifting to the letter now kept in her bedside drawer. On Wednesday afternoon, as she was selecting fabric swatches for a Park Avenue renovation, her phone chimed with an email. Notification. Miss Bennett, your message was quite unexpected. My mother kept journals about all the children who passed through her care. Your name appears frequently. I have some of her personal effects that might interest you. I volunteer at the Westfield Foundation on Saturdays. If you'd like to meet, I'll be there from 10 to 2. Marcus Collins. Olivia read the email 3 times, her heartbeat quickening. The brief, formal tone revealed nothing about the man who had written it. Saturday morning found her dressed more casually than usual premium. Denim jeans and a cashmere sweater, rather than her typical power suit. She took a taxi to the foundation, clutching a small gift bag containing a donation check far larger than her usual annual contribution. The weekend volunteer coordinator directed her to the children's reading room. As she approached, she heard a deep, warm voice reading aloud. Standing in the doorway, she saw a circle of enthralled children surrounding a man sitting on a colorful rug. He was tall, with broad shoulders and dark hair touched with gray at the temples. His expression was animated as he read, changing voices for each character. One of the children noticed her and pointed. The man looked up, his story trailing off as his eyes, a striking hazel, met hers. Something in his gaze made her feel instantly exposed, as though he could see through the carefully crafted image she presented to the world. You must be Olivia, he said, closing the book. To the children, he added, we'll finish this story next time, I promise. There were groans of disappointment, but the children dispersed to other activities under a volunteer's guidance. Marcus approached, extending his hand. His palm was warm and calloused against her manicured fingers. You look just like your picture in my mother's album. She kept photos of us? Olivia asked, surprised. She kept everything, he said with a sad smile. Come on, I have something to show you. He led her to a small office filled with children's artwork. On the desk sat a worn leather box. After Mom died, I found this among her things. She called it her success stories. Inside were dozens of newspaper clippings, photographs, and notes about former Westfield children. Marcus pulled out a folder with her name on it. She followed your career, he said, showing her magazine clippings about her design firm, She was incredibly proud of you. Olivia's throat tightened as she saw a photograph of herself at her college graduation, a moment she hadn't known was captured. How did she get this? Marcus smiled. Mom had her ways. She never interfered in her kids' lives, but she never stopped caring either. As they looked through Janet's mementos, Marcus told her about his mother's dedication to children's welfare and his own work as a pediatric trauma counselor. In turn, Olivia found herself revealing truths she rarely shared about her parents. Accident, her time in foster care, and how she had reinvented herself, burying her past beneath success and luxury. And now? Marcus asked, his eyes searching hers. What does finding that letter mean to you? Olivia fingered the butterfly pin, now fastened to her sweater. I think I've been running for a very long time, she admitted. Maybe it's time to remember the promise I made to myself. Would you like to get some coffee? Marcus asked as they finished looking through Janet's mementos. There's a decent place around the corner. The decent place turned out to be a tiny cafe with mismatched furniture and the rich aroma of freshly ground beans worlds away from the sleek establishments Olivia frequented. Over steaming mugs, their conversation deepened. Marcus spoke of growing up with Janet, watching her dedicate her life to children in crisis. She always said there were no disposable people, he explained. Every child deserved to be seen. She made me feel visible when I felt forgotten. Olivia admitted, I can't believe I locked those memories away for so long. Trauma does that, Marcus said gently. It's my field of expertise, actually. The mind protects itself however it can. As they talked, Olivia found herself drawn to his compassionate intelligence. Unlike the polished executives and hedge fund managers she typically dated, Marcus possessed an authentic warmth that made her feel strangely vulnerable. So, interior design to the ultra-wealthy, he said, his eyes twinkling. How did that happen? Olivia traced the rim of her mug. I wanted beauty and stability after everything felt so chaotic, and I wanted to prove I could succeed. And have. You? Succeeded, I mean? The question hung between them, deceptively simple yet profound. By most measures, she answered carefully. But finding that letter, it's made me question things. Their coffee extended to lunch, and as afternoon shadows lengthened, Olivia realized she'd spent 5 hours with this stranger, who somehow didn't feel strange at all. As they walked back toward the foundation, Marcus hesitated. There's something else I should show you. He led her to a new wing of the building she hadn't noticed before, a bright, modern space with a plaque reading, the Janet Collins Center for Family Reunification. This was Mom's dream project, Marcus explained. A place dedicated to keeping families together through crisis-providing emergency housing, medical care, counseling, whatever it takes to prevent children from entering the system unnecessarily. Olivia stared at the center, something stirring inside her. It's exactly what would have helped my family. If something like this had existed, It exists now, Marcus said, but it's struggling for funding. The pilot program ends next month, unless we can secure additional support. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Olivia felt the distinct sensation of paths converging, her past, present, and a possible future, aligning with unexpected clarity. As they parted that evening, Marcus hesitated before asking, would you like to attend our fundraising committee meeting next week? No pressure, but your expertise in connecting with high-net-worth individuals could be invaluable. Olivia smiled, feeling a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. I'd like that very much. Walking to her waiting car, she realized she hadn't checked her phone once. All day, a small revolution for a woman whose calendar typically ruled her life in 15-minute increments. The following weeks brought changes to Olivia's life that both surprised and unsettled her. The fundraising committee welcomed her enthusiastically and she found herself devoting increasing amounts of time to the Janet Collins Center. Her assistant managed her design clients with minimal input, while Olivia directed her networking prowess toward a new goal-securing support for the center. Marcus became a constant presence in her life. Their partnership began professionally, but evolved with an organic intimacy that frightened and thrilled her. He showed her a world beyond her luxury bubble, the reality of families teetering on the edge of crisis, the small victories of prevention programs, the joy of reunited families. In turn, she introduced him to potential donors, hosting intimate gatherings in her penthouse where she shared her own story with an openness that would have been unthinkable months earlier. One evening, after a particularly successful fundraiser at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they stood on her terrace overlooking the glittering city. "We hit the target," Marcus said, his voice quiet with disbelief. "The center is funded for another year." Olivia smiled, watching his profile in the moonlight. "Janet would be proud. Of both of us, I think." He turned to face her. "You've changed." "Everything, Olivia. Not just for the center, but—" He hesitated, vulnerability crossing his features. The moment stretched between them, electric with possibility. When he finally kissed her, it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been before. Later that night, as Marcus slept beside her, Olivia slipped from bed and retrieved her childhood letter, reading it again in the soft glow of the city lights. She was struck by the directness of her 7-year-old self. "I want to help kids like me when I grow up. Promise you won't forget." She had forgotten, or rather, she had deliberately chosen a different path, one paved with success and material comfort. But life had found a way to circle back, to reconnect her with the promise she'd made. The realization came with surprising clarity. Her design business, her connections, her understanding of luxury and power, these weren't divergences from her childhood dream, but tools that had been waiting for the right purpose. The next morning, she made a decision. Over breakfast, she outlined her vision to Marcus, a foundation of her own that would work alongside the Janet Collins Center, specifically targeting luxury property developers to include family support facilities and new housing projects. "It's ambitious," Marcus said, eyes wide. So was a 7-year-old girl putting a letter in a charity box and expecting it to find her someday. Olivia replied, her heart lighter than it had been in years. 1 year later, Olivia stood in the newly expanded Janet Collins Center, surveying the space she had helped design. The walls were adorned with vibrant artwork, the furniture both beautiful and functional. What had once been a struggling program now occupied an entire floor of the Westfield Foundation building. Her phone buzzed with messages from clients, not design clients anymore, but developers participating in her foundation's first initiative, which had successfully integrated family support centers into 3 major housing projects across the city. "Ms. Bennett?" A young volunteer approached, holding a stack of envelopes. "The letters are ready for the time capsule." Olivia smiled, taking the bundle. Each envelope contained a letter from a child currently receiving services at the center, addressed to their future selves. In 20 years, the foundation would attempt to deliver these messages, creating a circle of connection like the one that had changed her life. As she arranged the letters in a decorative box, Marcus joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. The silver butterfly pin glinted on her lapel, a constant reminder of where she had come from. "The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, he reminded her. Olivia nodded, placing the last letter carefully in the box. As the newly appointed executive director of the Westfield Foundation's family preservation programs, her schedule was as busy as ever, but filled now with purpose rather than mere ambition. The past year had brought other changes too. Her penthouse had been sold, the proceeds establishing an emergency housing fund. She and Marcus now shared a brownstone in Brooklyn, closer to the foundation and filled with a warmth her former showplace had never possessed. "Ready?" Marcus asked, his hazel eyes crinkling at the corner's eyes that now gazed at her each morning. Across their shared breakfast table that had witnessed her tears and laughter, that had seen her true self emerge from behind the facade she'd maintained for so long. Almost, she said, reaching into her pocket for one last envelope, this one addressed to the child inside Olivia Bennett. Inside was a new letter she had written to her 7-year-old self, telling her that her wish had come true, that the butterfly had found its way home. As she placed it in the box and closed the lid, Olivia felt the completion of a circle that had begun 26 years ago with a frightened child and a simple act of hope. Later that evening, as she and Marcus walked home through the autumn twilight, hands linked and steps in perfect rhythm, she thought about how a single letter in a charity box had led her not only back to herself, but forward to a life richer than she could have imagined, not in possessions, but in purpose and love. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked, squeezing her hand. Olivia smiled, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky. "I'm thinking that sometimes the most valuable things we lose are meant to find us again when we're ready to truly see them." And as they continued their walk home, Olivia Bennett, no longer defined by what she owned or designed, but by the promises she kept and the lives she touched, felt the perfect symmetry of a story that had come full circle at last.